Hello World Doll Day friends, this is Michael Canadas with the Grovian Doll Museum and Carmel Doll Shop. We are back with a program with an unwilling participant.
A very unwilling participant because I'm Anne Coleman and I claim to be totally against hats because they are against me.
Well, that sounds like a personal problem to me.
It probably is, but I own up to it.
Okay. But I'm with today, and you are all with today, someone in the world of high fashion and fashion historian, really a true legend. The work that Anne has done on her book of Worth and on Doucet and etc. and Charles James, to many of us, you are a superhero. So recently we just received a collection of items, which is a very fine cache of doll clothing and original doll hats. But sprinkled within the doll hats are ladies' hats that have been repurposed into doll hats. And for me personally, it's something I just cannot stand, because the minute I see them, I know it's wrong. I know that they don't fit on the heads right. So today, while we were filming other programs, Anne got to do deconstruction, removing the
Some of the additions.
the additions. And the thing about the real ladies' hats is they can tell us how to construct a hat, which is so far different than the average costumer today is they just put a hat on a doll with a feather and a ribbon. I mean, these have wires, buckram, tarlatan, silk.
These don't have one thing that was very important, most of them, in the 1890s, which is the period of most of these hats, and that is not just the feathers, but the whole bird.
Yes.
Sometimes the whole aviary is floating around your head.
Yes, and we have some of those in the upstairs. But
and some birds went into extinction because they were so popular with the public.
The Carolina parakeet.
Yeah, they.
Yes, and at our Natural History Museum, the Carolina parakeet, they do have one of those, and they have a whole section of taxidermy birds that have gone extinct because of millinery.
Well, at one point I had the Audubon Society, and looking at the hats that I was in charge of at the Brooklyn Museum, the collection has now gone over to the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, and they were there specifically in search of birds that had gone into extinction. It was a very sad
But we
time.
don't have any of that. We've got
have
ostrich and turkey. So what we're going to do is we're going to just try to go through the hats and show you what they're made of and how they could be worn on a doll or a lady. And
the important thing is that these are all ladies' hats with one possible exception, and some of them have been altered to look good on a doll, but there are hitches along the way.
There's things that make it not.
Work with the.
That's why I always feel, take it off.
Well, should we start?
I mean, and by the way, I would rather see on a doll, rather than an antique lady's hat, I would rather see a beautifully crafted contemporary replacement hat that's done.
And you're being honest.
I'm being honest.
You're being totally honest.
And showing your skill So I'm going to let you, because you've arranged this. So how do you want to start?
Well, I was going to start with our beautiful
Brew
model here. And we've placed a hat on her head. You would think that it would not be lying almost flat on the top of the head. You would think it would go back behind her hair, she does have a little bit of extra hair that would not have been fashionable in the 1890s. It's more of an 1860s hair do, but we'll get to that in a moment. But the way this hat now is decorated, if you put it on a doll, it would tie under the chin. If you tie the streamers according to the way it's placed here on the wig now, I mean on the model now, this is where the streamers come. And I don't think you want to think of your doll looking like that, but if on a doll, it would come under the chin where it's expected to come. But the streamers have been tacked down to end up this way if it had landed upon.
So shall we look at the features of this lovely hat?
Well, we have chenille. I guess they're supposed to be pussy willow here.
I think that's right.
And that's a spring bit of vegetation. And then we have a flower that's much more.
Do you think that's a pansy?
No, I don't think it's a pansy on a bad day.
Okay.
But what you don't want to see on a doll ever, I think I can firmly say, is a dark navy or a black. Those are matronly colors.
Yes.
And the black sometimes really is mourning. And you're not going to want to put your doll into mourning. The mourning veils would have been additional items.
Taped up pin on or
Yeah.
something. But what I love is what they've used for, just wired up jet beads.
And these would all stick up.
And none of these have been
And
curated.
they would be en tremblant, meaning they were meant to, as you walked along, they were supposed to shake. And they would come out in sort of a blossom-like or fireworks-like arrangement.
Do you think this is maybe really a midnight blue?
I think it's a midnight blue.
Yeah.
Look at it against your black jacket.
Yeah, we just unpacked these, so we haven't really done all
And I think actually you may have a black
crown.
crown and side of the
Ribbons.
blue.
So,
And they mixed materials. To a great extent. But as many people will recognize, this is a hat that's designed after Mary, Queen of Scots.
yes.
So it's a Tudor adaptation for the...
A Mary Stuart bonnet.
Yeah. And this,
Well, it wouldn't be a bonnet.
no, it's a bonnet.
It's a bonnet, okay.
I've always defined a bonnet as having ties that were meant to tie under the chin, and a hat without
Okay.
anything coming under the chin.
Okay.
Now, because it has ties, it doesn't necessarily mean that those ties tied.
That's right. They could have just...
So shall we go to the end of the table?
Yes, I'm...
Okay, we're gonna switch off, and I'm gonna trade here. Now, this is the earliest little cap from and I say cap here, could be a bonnet, but this is from the 1860s, and it's just as sweet as it can be.
Isn't that wonderful color?
And this is going to sit on Madam's head, like that, and these are going to float behind and over the shoulders,
Not necessarily be tied.
not necessarily be tied. And this is, I think this could even come down on her head a little bit more, because these sometimes stuck up a little bit.
Well, I mean, we kind of messed with her hair, but if her hair were the way we had it,
A little higher.
it would have just nestled in there.
There, yeah.
And I think that we should talk about, for doll collectors, the lack of understanding. A lot of times they don't realize that in the 19th century and even in our last century, you didn't just plop a hat on your head. Your hair was styled to accommodate.
Support the hat.
Because I noticed that people want to put hats all on a head the way we do today. You know, you just plop it on and that's, but
No.
I mean, she's a great example of a hairstyle that's incorporated into the working with the hat. And I don't believe that's ever been off.
Now, can I ask you, Michael, have you ever seen a doll's head large enough from the 1860s to wear that?
No. No.
So when you look at these hats, you say to yourselves, is this really suitable for a doll? Does it fit the size of the doll's head without being pulled in any way, sort of jigged?
Right.
So
Well,
that it's
I could
going
see
to-
I could see that the intention that they were going to ultimately take this hat, because there's very little. If you look at it, you've got some black tarlatan, some tulle, wire. There's very little to it, so it could be manipulated into a different shape, but it would always remember the shape that it was.
Yeah.
And I get it because I mean, think of all the illustrations that we've seen of period illustrations where they show the back of the hat. And
Because the hat was as important from the back side as you walked along
I think so.
as it was from the front.
But wouldn't we? I do anything
This
for
is
that
a
fabric.
wonderful, that fabric is gorgeous.
And it looks.
And it's the right blue for the 1860s, late 1860s. No, you can't put it back on because I'm.
Okay. Are you moving on? Okay.
Are we finished with that one?
Well, no, unless you have something to add.
No, I don't.
You don't?
No, then.
Okay. I don't want to step on you because I don't want to get on your bad side.
How do you know you aren't there already?
Because I know you have that look that you give. Well, this is where you were slacking off today. You didn't get this one taken care of.
Well, I thought this one was a good one to leave to show people what you don't want to see inside one of these hats. This white is meant to fill in, and it's meant to make the hat look as though it's supposed to be on a doll, because it's a small hat. Again, it's an 1890s hat. Again, it's black, and it's actually wonderful raffia braided and wired, and it's got all the gewgaws that you expect on an 1890s hat.
And I'm going to have, when I have some free time, sit and clean each one of these components,
And those little
they'll
jet
sparkle.
beads.
They'll sparkle.
Yeah. But this is a no-no.
It's a no-no.
That much. You might find a little tiny bit around here, but nothing like this.
And
This is overkill.
And everything's wrong.
Yeah.
And the upholstery gimp on it.
Because this hat is meant to come over her hair, and we can't get it down quite right. But you just don't need that at all
No,
there.
it's actually
It's
distracting.
distracting, yeah. Because it's supposed to stand up a little bit, but we can't push it down because of the hair. And I don't want to mess her hair too much, because it's great. Now,
And we're just hoping that they didn't glue that in. they didn't glue all that trim into that hat.
No, that's,
Did they, okay, they sewed it in. Well, that's at least one good
Yeah.
thing. You can get it out.
now, there are hats and there are hats. And some hats were very inexpensive and some hats were vastly expensive. And when I picked this one up, I thought, oh my goodness, this has to be one of the cheapest hats devised. It looks like it's got a nice straw body, but wait till you get inside and see the lining.
Oh, wow. Tissue paper.
Tissue paper. They
But
don't even have any cloth lining, and that's one of the features of these hats at this period, are the linings and the labels. But
I mean, I think it is amazing that it's survived.
oh, it's
So
wonderful.
it must have been someone, it must have meant something to someone. Either that or they had a giant head and it wouldn't fit.
And this would have been worn at an angle like that, coming up off the head. And it would have been, it may have been off at a slight angle,
Okay.
but it could also have been straight ahead.
And do you think it had any more decoration on
At its price
it?
point?
Oh, that's true, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No, I think this was, it's sort of a 5 and dime hat. Good old fashioned 5 and dime. Now, this is another nice
I love this one.
and these colors are so typical of the 1890s. But that poison green,
Oh, yes.
and this wonderful brown and the gold and these little sort of mossy-like flowers. And again, you've got the beaded wire elements which come out and tremble. And again, I've always said that one of the sad things about museum exhibitions is that you don't hear the clothes as they're in motion, and you don't see them in motion. Once this is in a display case, it's standing there with no life to it.
Mhm.
But as you saw with the black one, these elements on the wires moving.
And that needs to be
And the
strict.
great jewelry frequently has items that tremble
Oh, absolutely.
as the person walks.
Should we try that on her head though? Because I thought that looked so fabulous when we had it on. We're messing around.
Again, this,
Don't worry about her hair. It's more important to.
it should be back a little bit.
But look at the style of how they wrapped that. You know.
This would have been for evening.
Yes. Come on. Now we have an interloper here, Miss Annabelle. Come on. You've got to go out, or we'll put a hat on you. Go on.
Now, the next two hats are wonderful. This is about as boring as it can get in the back until you turn it around and you get this wonderful array of items. And this would have been worn probably, this would have been center back. And so it's going to be just a little bit off to the side and off on an angle. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
And we
to me.
can't do anything
No,
with her
her
hair.
hair's too-
Yeah.
too-
So it's going to want to go about like that. Is that,
I get it. It's in a way it's kind of slightly the
like that?
same.
Yeah.
Same concept.
But this hat,
Yeah, I think we could easily put up to.
yeah, this hat, no, we don't have one here in the doll form, But this hat is going to come at the same sort of angle, and this is going to be off to the side a bit. And I think that's probably about the way it's going to be up on the head. Does that look good
It does from
your angle?
yeah. But we could try it on her, because I think it would, on this side, we wouldn't have too much hair. It's gonna go. I mean, it's not what the average person, has nothing to do with today. That is the placement in its period. And it's sensational.
I'm
Oh,
not-
no, it's, you know, if the hair were filled in a little here, it would be fabulous.
Yeah.
Of course, they would style it to fit that.
But it does not want to go,
Well, that, I mean, look at that.
that's not it.
It's like a fruit basket, like that.
Yeah.
Totally.
It's a flying saucer, frisbee. It's a frisbee.
And this has some very nice.
Oh, this is
it's
beautifully.
It's dirty, but here, I mean, this, we will do some curation, but this gives us an opportunity to see the
Structure.
the millinery wire.
Yeah.
But, I mean, this is beautiful. weaving.
And this you buy by the yard.
Yeah, well, where can you buy it by the yard? Because I want to buy some. But
Well, I think maybe you have to go to a milliner supply
yes,
in the sky.
yeah. But also, well, let's point out this. Look at how genius that was, to do a little pleat between the rows. And when
Yeah.
this was new, it was probably just,
This was a very
Luscious.
sophisticated hat.
yes, I think so. And do you think that this one's worth giving it some restoration? I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And oftentimes you can tell the direction of the hat because it will have the center front marked, usually with a cross. And it'll also give you the direction of the hat where it should go, where the decoration ends.
I guess that's very clearly, but look at this, I just noticed these. Do you think these are hat pin?
Probably, yeah, because this is going to need hat pins. And this is a hat pin period. Hat pins.
My
weren't worn on.
grandmother never left, as a young woman, never left the house without a hat on. And she was born in 1919. And she said they also didn't ever have to worry about being bothered because all they had to do to defend themselves was take
Take out the
hat pin.
Yeah,
Okay, where do you want to go next?
with the stem not long.
Which,
Let's see what we got down here. Now this probably was a very exclusive milliner in Philadelphia in its day, and this was a velvet which has lost its plush here. This is from the 1880s, a little bit earlier than some of the, when they wore bonnets, a lot of bonnets. And unfortunately, somebody has cut off
the ties.
streamers, yeah.
And I would imagine that they probably weren't in bad shape. They just,
No. They didn't want them to.
but here we have buckram, we have wire, we have,
And it's going to come on the head a little bit forward on the head.
now are we looking at about, well, not quite.
Yes, we're looking at something not too dissimilar from that.
Yeah.
And it isn't as exuberant as the 90s.
No,
The
but
90s get
But I think that
more is better.
that hat is beautiful. It's got a beautiful look to
Yes.
it.
And it's got very nice feathers still, the ostrich plumes.
No, I think this one is just something.
It's a bird's nest. Upside down bird's nest. And these were probably, those leaves were probably gold. So you can imagine that. And this would have been an early fall hat. But this was a day
look at the combination of.
bonnet.
I always, when I kind of started working on these kinds of things, I always thought, where can I get these feathers like this?
Paris.
Well, you know where you can get them? You buy them and you trim them, so
Yeah,
they're like
yeah.
that.
But I mean, you know,
Yeah.
there was a whole neighborhood in Paris where they just did feathers.
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 Yeah, I'm sure it's still, there's
There's
at
some,
least one, I
yeah.
imagine.
No, but it's harder and harder to get findings for trimming hats
Oh, yes.
these days because nobody wears, not even the British for ascot wear
Which is too bad.
that, yeah.
But, and the flowers were just
Yeah.
amazing too.
So, let's take a look at this little blue one because I think this one,
I think we've decided on that one, haven't we? Are we in agreement?
I think it's kitties,
Yes.
little girls. And it would have been worn this way. And this one actually could fit a large doll.
It could.
Yeah.
I would, a big doll, which would be a companion doll, which would
A
receive.
big Simon and Howell-Big or
Yeah.
a big K-Star
It would receive the child's clothes.
clothes, yeah, or big Armand Marseille. But this one could go on a child doll
And look right.
and look right.
And it's a pretty little hat.
Yeah. Early 20th century.
Now, did we decide if this laces?
No, I
Do you
think
that's original, do you think?
Yeah, I think it may be. Let me just get in there. I think it is. And that would be all right for a child.
And we need to reline this because it looks like it's lost
Yeah.
a lining.
But it would have been black fabric, I think, in there.
And look at the combination of the fuchsia and
Yeah.
navy.
just-
It's just,
And this would be a winter one.
so that one that one a doll could use.
That one a doll could use. Big doll. Now, then, Michael, did we want to say anything about, we talked a bit about.
What about this? We have to talk
Oh.
about,
Our jet here?
but all hats are not for the day.
No.
Do you think this is
it's
an
the evening?
Evening bonnet,
Yeah.
so should we give them a little? Now look at how chic that is. And if that were on a doll, it would make a doll look like a matronly.
Yeah.
Don't worry, here. Oh.
Oh. Let's see if we can figure out what the direction is. Because sometimes these things go off in a direction that you're surprised by. No, I think this is gonna go like that.
And imagine a lady in a,
Might go even further.
I mean, in a velvet dress this color. How
Yes.
stunning
Yeah,
that would look.
yeah. And the dress would have had jet trim on it.
Now, in this one, I haven't decided whether you like this or don't like it. I like this for an evening hat.
Well, this is almost a prehistoric butterfly,
Oh, it is almost.
insect.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see that, Madam Photographer?
Should we try that on too?
Now this one wants to go pretty much straight up on her, and I don't know whether we can do that.
See, I think that's gorgeous. Don't you think that's gorgeous?
Well, since I'm not a hat person, I'm not going to comment on the beauty.
Just because you can't. Okay. Well,
I wouldn't wear it. But
okay.
then we all know.
Well, I think since we touched on bird extinctions and hats, shall we have a look at some of these ladies in the dolls that are wearing?
Now, are these the Desiree Lafitte
Well,
ladies, or are they another? Oh, goodness. I can't see what that says there.
There's not a designer associated with.
Yeah, because there were a number of these fashion figures that were parading in salons, dress salons in Paris and elsewhere in the late aughts and teens.
But what is fascinating to me, Anne, is look at this tam.
I'm sorry, that's a skirt.
This tam, how it's trimmed with fur around the brim, and then the feather comes from the back and jets forward.
Yes, yes.
That
I'm making a right turn. Watch out.
I mean,
she is so elegant.
I mean, isn't that a fabulous? And then this one, although she's
And then with her Empire extraordinary interpretation,
I mean,
and the S curve of her torso, the height of fashion.
I mean, that is a peach basket hat.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
you could.
And why she's got a hat box that size?
Yeah, it would
It
never.
would never fit. But again, is she the same?
No mark.
No mark.
No mark
No.
maker. But
Well, she just walked out of Gazette de Bon Ton.
yes, I think I agree. I totally agree. And then this one.
She looks like she might be callow.
But again, look at how that hat was worn.
Yes.
It's just so. And
It's got life.
yes, but if you laid it out on a piece of paper, it's oblong. It's not round.
No.
I mean, it's oblong.
And the wonderful color changing. Instead of having a green feather, she's got the blue feather.
Which I think makes the green look greener.
Yeah,
And we have no
no.
mark. Look at the front of this. It's very tender, but look at that jacket. Isn't that amazing?
Amazing.
And this hat may be a little bit misshaped.
I think it has been crushed in.
Yeah.
But look at the back of the hat. I mean, you don't have to say Mad Hatter. She's it.
Oh, wait a minute. Here we've got something. Aha, look.
And this is a Lafitte Desiree. And they did these figures both in contemporary fashion and historical fashion, yeah.
But some of their historical fashion, I call hysterical fashion.
Yes, the interpretation needs a little bit of translation every once in a while to understand. But then that's true with so many things. We of a later generation do not see it with the same set of
Absolutely.
eyes as somebody who created it.
Today I was working with you two, and we were showing you a prototype, and you both were just horrified with something that we added to the item, but we're not making we're making a model for us to use. So it is of our time,
Yeah,
even though we're doing
and
some,
as try as hard as we will, we can't go back to that
we
moment.
can't, no.
Because we are surrounded
it was a giveaway.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually a good idea for what we're doing. There
Yeah.
should be something that you go, aha.
Ah, that was made in such and such a time. No.
Well, and so going back to the girls from the Grovian, one of the reasons they're here is because of their amazing hats. And
Dolls have always known how to dress
Yes.
and wear a hat.
yes, they do.
Yeah.
And I love that this, I mean, I should have examined the head and done all my due diligence, but I would never touch that and ruin that.
No.
Those ribbons will never go
No,
back.
No.
And hers does come off. So I will show you. I mean, isn't that, look at the way that's just
And that's
tied.
very simply
Simply
created.
yes.
Very, very simply, but it's extremely. Now, is this accordion pleated here for the crown?
Well, it's an illusion of that.
Yeah.
But they didn't line it
Yeah.
because I don't think
and
they expected us to
I
take
bet
it
they're
off.
using leghorn straw for the hats.
Could be.
Yeah, because that was the top straw, Italian leghorn. Oh, and this little mite.
Isn't this a
Just-
cute little thing?
Yeah.
Little tiny brew.
And you see again how the direction of the ribbons indicates how the hat should sit on her head, where it's going to come down underneath the
yeah.
chin. Yeah. You get a lot of clues.
And the hairstyles
Oh,
around the hat.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you are trying to dress your doll, don't think about putting a black hat on it, please. Because we don't want our dolls in mourning.
No, we don't want them to be sad.
We want them to be happy and enjoy color and life.
So earlier you were telling me about one of the big exhibits that you did that was
It
kind
wasn't
of,
that big, but
it wasn't that big? It wasn't one of your blockbusters?
no, it was not it was one of the routine,
And so what was?
once every 3 months changed. It was called Heads and Toes, where we brought out hosiery and leg wear, but not shoes, just hosiery, and married it up with hats and bonnets and caps. And we suspended the hats from the ceiling
Oh, wow.
on the foam wig stands. And then we could angle the hats so that we cut the face and so forth off, shaped that off, so that all you saw was the support from below and the hat at whatever angle we thought was the appropriate.
And
So
so
it
did
was
you,
a cases full of floating hats.
And so did you engineer all that?
I'm afraid I did. It was my idea. If you didn't like it, you knew who to blame.
All right, well, thank you. I hope you enjoyed this. I certainly enjoyed Elizabeth Ann's insight in this collection of hats, and I hope you enjoy the rest of World Doll Day, and we will see you later, doll friends. Bye-bye.
Bye.